Welcome back to South Coast Mini PDs. I'm Georgeann Harty with South Coast ESD, and today we have Eric Wells and Jeremy Wells from ODE, and we have Becky Armistead from Bandon School District and Grace Bullock from ODE. And we're going to talk a little bit today about health, well-being, and connection. So we're going to start out with a brief introduction from each of our panelists. So Becky, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, my name is Becky Armistead. I am currently the Harbor Lights Middle School principal in Bandon, Oregon. I am also the K-12 special education director. I came from 6 years as the elementary principal here in Bandon and was an elementary and middle school teacher in Coos Bay before that.
Wonderful. Eric, would you like to talk about yourself a little?
Absolutely. So good morning and welcome, or afternoon, I guess, because you could be watching this at any time. My name is Eric. I use the pronouns he and him, and I work at ODE as the director of IDEA programs. And so, like Becky is the director of special ed for Bandon, I'm a director of special ed for the state. And I work with Becky and with South Coast, and have been really excited to work closely with the South Coast community. When I first started at ODE, I was the county contact for the region. And so I got to know a lot of really wonderful people down there. And that's the role Jeremy fills right now. And so when he asked, like, hey, you want to come and talk with our friends from the South Coast? Of course I do. I love these people. They're wonderful.
Thank you, Eric. Jeremy, how about you?
I'm the other part of the Wells brothers, Jeremy Wells, your current county contact. So I'm the direct point person for all of the special education directors in the South Coast ESD region. And it was great being able to come and spend a week and a half with you all about a couple weeks ago now. And I'm glad that we're able to put these mini PDs to scratch some of your itches.
Thank you. And last but not least, Grace.
Hi, I'm Grace Bullock, she, her pronouns. I'm the Senior Mental Health Officer at the Oregon Department of Education, and my area of focus is supporting and promoting the mental health of staff and students and families and leaders across the state. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thank you for your work, Grace. All right, so we're going to start out with just some questions. I am going to, let's see, Eric, what are some common pitfalls for the mental and emotional health of our students, families, and community?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think mental health sits within the context of a larger society, right? And so it's impacted by the things that are going on in our country. And so I think about the general divisiveness that we have in our country right now and how hard it makes nearly every issue that we're facing. It feels like everything has become a culture war and a fight against two different diametrically opposed viewpoints. And so the more we can find connection across there and recognize the common humanity that we have with other people, regardless of how our views are different. And so I think that trying to turn down the temperature on our conversation could be very helpful, because it's very easy right now to harm our mental health, just given all the difficulties and challenges of the last 20 months and few years even. And then I think about, in this current moment, specifically the upcoming breaks from schools can be a really hard time for people's mental health. School provides space and opportunity for care and connection. It provides the structures and the routines that are helpful to support ongoing mental health and well-being for students and for staff. People thrive on routine. And so when I think about ODE's Care and Connection campaign, it really is about every human in the system. It's not just about students. It's not just about staff. It's not even limited to students and staff. It's how do we make healthy and strong communities in every community across Oregon.
Thank you, Eric. Becky, why is care and connection so important in a system that is developed for education?
So I have been known to say that while my job is to be an instructional leader, my work is far more than just instruction. And some of the most important work that we do is that connection work, where people can feel seen and heard and valued. We cannot do the work of education without that connection. Students will not be able to access the education if they don't feel valued within the system. If you have not yet heard of Rita Pearson, I encourage you to find her TED Talk. If you Google "Every Student Deserves a Champion," you'll get a couple minutes that could change your life. She goes on to talk about the fact that Every student deserves a champion, someone who is going to stand by them and cheer them on and be that solid support person for them. She talks a little bit about her mother, who was an educator, and that when she passed, the service was filled with former students talking about the impact that was made by the kindness she showed. And that kindness wasn't teaching them how to read necessarily, or teaching them how to do math. It was feeding them granola bars when they were hungry. And it was listening to when they had a hard day at home or on the bus or wherever that may be. And so we know that one caring adult can change the trajectory of a child's future. We know that kids come to us with a myriad of life experience, and some of them very supportive and some of them less so. And it really doesn't matter. We know they need that adult. And any of y'all parents out there might know that being called mom immediately means you don't know as much as perhaps you might know. Being called dad means you're maybe a little bit of an idiot. So we can't always count on families, even the best, most incredible supportive families, to be that person for their very own child. So not always knowing when you make that difference, that support is a million little things. It's not one day, it's not one action, it's not one lesson. It is a million ways in which you pour into our children and make them believe that they are valued, make them believe that they are important to us. And, you know, the focus in that video was on students, but I know that's important for staff. As a principal, I work hard to value my staff each and every day and connect with our families so that they too feel like a vital part of the process.
Thank you, Becky. Grace, I know that we have attached some things, so could you give us end us up here, give us a conclusion and some information?
Sure, absolutely. And I just want to thank you for this conversation. I think that just to add really briefly on what Becky said, in order for students to learn and teachers to teach and people to thrive, we need to make sure that we're creating the time and the space for building relationships and care and connection. And, you know, I've often heard, well, I don't have time or I don't have space. And just like you were saying, Becky, it's those little things. It's just creating that little moment to connect, have eye contact, say, I see you, or, you know, I recognize you and who you are, and affirm that. It's so important. And that's probably the greatest mental health promoting intervention that we have, is just recognizing another person and making space and time for that. And it doesn't take a lot of time. But in terms of resources, we have, I believe you have the link to ODE's mental health pages, and there are a lot of resources there. There's a link to the Care and Connection campaign, which has a whole bunch of tools and ideas for creating care and connection in the classroom. There's video resources, social media posts. There's just a ton of information there. There's the ODE mental health toolkit, which has a lot of really great information and curated resources as well to provide trauma-informed, social emotional learning-based, strengths-based, equity-centered mental health services and supports to families. There is a very large area of mental health resources. There's resources for students and families, for staff, and for mental health professionals and administrators. Lots there, everything from suicide prevention to how to cope with stress. There's just a ton of information there. And then there are other pages devoted to Addie's Act and suicide prevention, and creating safe and inclusive schools. So yeah, please, lots of resources there. Invite you to check them out and connect with us if there's something that we're missing or something else that you need.
Thank you, Grace. Well, thank you all, and we'll see you next time at our next mini PD.